The grand chamber was built to make visitors feel like insects. The ceiling was so high that light itself seemed to get lost before reaching the top. The walls showed the symbols of ancient species, civilizations that had ruled the stars when humans were still living in caves. Everything about this place was designed to remind younger species that they did not matter. Ambassador Yunhana stood alone in the center of the chamber. She was a small woman in a dark blue uniform, her black hair pulled back tight, her face showing nothing. Around her, rising up like a mountain, sat the representatives of the Galactic Council. Hundreds of aliens from dozens of species. Some had scales, some had wings, some were made of crystal or light or things that had no name in human language. All of them looked down at her with the same expression. Boredom, annoyance, the look that powerful beings give to those they consider worthless. At the very top sat High Arbiter Vorn. He was impossibly tall and thin, with skin like old gray paper and eyes that were completely black. He had led the council for 300 years. In all that time, he had never once helped humanity with anything. Hana touched a button, and images appeared in the air around her. Burning buildings, dead bodies, children crying in the ruins of their homes, ships torn apart in the cold darkness of space. "High Arbiter," she said, her voice steady and clear, "for the past 8 months, pirates from Keth Dominion space have attacked our colonies. 17 attacks. 4,000 of our people are dead. 2 million have lost everything they owned." She moved to the next image. A map showing where the pirates came from. Every single attack traced back to Keth territory. "We have brought this evidence to the council 6 times. Each time we were told to wait. Each time, more of our people died." She paused and looked up at the rows of alien faces. "We are not asking for war. We are asking for justice. We are asking this council to do what it was created to do." Silence filled the chamber. Then, from somewhere in the upper rows came a sound that made Hana's blood turn cold. Laughter. Delegate Mira of the Talori hegemony leaned forward. She had bright green skin and a mouth full of small, sharp teeth. Her smile was cruel. "The human talks about justice," Mira said. "How sweet. Perhaps if humans spent less time making babies and more time building real defenses, they would not need to come here and beg." More laughter. Not everyone laughed, but enough. The sound echoed through the great chamber like poison. High Arbiter Vorn raised one long finger, and the laughter stopped. "Ambassador," he said, his voice dry and cold, "the council has heard your concerns. The answer is the same as before. The Keth Dominion controls its own space. We cannot force them to protect your borders." "Then let us protect ourselves," Hana said. "Give Earth permission to send ships into Keth space to hunt these pirates." "Impossible." Vorn's black eyes showed nothing. "That would break the Boundaries Treaty, a treaty your species signed when you joined our community." "A treaty that protects everyone except us." Vorn leaned forward slightly. Something that might have been amusement crossed his ancient face. "You are young, Ambassador. Your entire species is young. You have been part of this community for only 50 years. In that time, humanity has given us nothing of value. Your technology is primitive. Your culture is crude. Your worlds are few and weak." The chamber was completely silent now. "Humanity was given a great gift when we allowed you to join the council," Vorn continued. "Perhaps instead of making demands, you should learn some humility." Laughter again. Louder this time. Crueler. Hana stood perfectly still. Her hands were fists behind her back where no one could see. Inside her chest, something that had been building for 50 years finally broke. But her face remained calm. Her voice remained steady. "I understand," she said. "The council's decision is noted." She bowed, exactly as the rules required. Then she added, in a voice that carried to every corner of the chamber, "Earth will remember this day." She turned and walked toward the doors. Behind her, Delegate Mira called out in a mocking voice, "Run home, little human! Run home and hide!" Hana did not look back. She walked through the long corridors of Nexus Station, her footsteps echoing on the metal floor. Her aide, a young man named Baek Jin, hurried to keep up with her. "Ambassador," he said, his face red with anger, "we cannot accept this. They laughed at us. They—" "Not here." Her voice was quiet but sharp. "Walls have ears." They reached the Earth Embassy. Hana stepped into her private office and sealed the door. Only then did she let her mask fall. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes grew hard as stone. She walked to her desk and opened a secure communication channel. The face of Admiral Park Tae appeared on the screen. He was an older man with short gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. "I watched the session," he said. "I am sorry." "Do not be sorry," Hana replied. "Be ready." Tae's expression did not change, but something shifted in his eyes. "You are certain?" Hana thought about the laughter. She thought about 50 years of unfair treaties, 50 years of paying money to species that hated them, 50 years of watching their people die while the galaxy did nothing. She thought about the dead children in the images she had shown. The council had not even looked at them. "I am certain," she said. "Send the signal. Protocol midnight." Tae nodded slowly. "It will be done." "May I ask you something?" "Yes." "Do you think they understand what they have done today?" Hana looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere out there, hidden in places the galaxy did not know about, was a fleet of warships. Technologies that humanity had built in secret. Weapons that had never been shown to anyone. For 50 years, Earth had played the role of the weak newcomer. They had bowed. They had paid tribute. They had swallowed every insult. But they had also been preparing, waiting, building. "No," Hana said softly. "They have no idea what they have done. But they will learn." She ended the transmission. In the Grand Chamber, High Arbiter Vorn had already forgotten about the human petition. There were more important matters to discuss. Trade routes, military movements, things that actually mattered. No one noticed the small ship that left Nexus Station and jumped into faster-than-light travel, carrying a coded message to Earth. No one noticed that the human ambassador did not attend any more council meetings. No one noticed that the universe had just changed forever. By the time they noticed, it would be far too late. The message traveled fast. It moved through secret relay stations hidden in dead moons and empty corners of space. Within 3 hours, the words "Protocol Midnight" had reached every military base on Earth and its 12 colony worlds. General Cho Dae received the message in his underground office in Seoul. He was a big man with a scarred face and hands that had seen war. For 40 years, he had defended humanity against threats that the Galactic Council refused to acknowledge. He had buried soldiers. He had held the hands of dying men. He had visited families to tell them their children were never coming home. When he read the message, he smiled for the first time in a very long time. He picked up his communicator and spoke 4 words. "Wake them all up." Across Earth and its colonies, alarms began to ring. Not the alarms of danger, but the alarms of preparation. Soldiers who had been sleeping opened their eyes and reached for their weapons. Pilots who had been waiting ran to their ships. Engineers who had been hiding their best work finally unlocked the sealed doors. In an asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter, something incredible happened. Massive doors opened in rocks that had looked dead for 30 years. From the darkness inside, ships began to emerge. Not the small, slow patrol ships that the galaxy knew about. These were warships, real warships, 300 of them, built in total secrecy over 3 decades. These ships looked nothing like the clumsy vessels in the galactic databases. They were sleek and fast, covered in dark armor that seemed to swallow light. Their weapons were hidden behind panels that looked like ordinary metal. Their engines burned with a bright blue fire that meant speeds no human ship was supposed to have. Dr. Kim Nari stood in the control room of Research Station 7, watching her life's work come alive. She was a small woman with glasses and streaks of gray in her hair. For 20 years, she had pretended to be an ordinary scientist. She had published boring papers. She had smiled at galactic inspectors and shown them nothing important. In truth, she led humanity's most secret project. "Shield generators are working perfectly," one of her technicians reported. "All ships show full power." "What about the quantum lock missiles?" Nari asked. "Armed and ready. Targeting systems are perfect." Nari allowed herself a small smile. 20 years of lies, 20 years of hiding laboratories inside mountains and recruiting the best scientists and swearing them all to silence. She had given up marriage, children, and a normal life for this moment. "Send word to Admiral Tay," she said. "Tell him the fleet is ready." High above Earth, aboard the flagship EDS Sovereignty, Admiral Park Tay received the message. He stood on the bridge of his ship, surrounded by officers who had trained for years without knowing exactly when this day would come. "All ships report ready," said Commander Oyuna, his second in command. She was young but calm, chosen personally by Tay because she never panicked. "Open a communication channel," Tay said. "Every frequency, every network. I want every species in the galaxy to hear this." The communications officer worked quickly. Within seconds, the channel was open. Admiral Tay's face would appear on screens across thousands of worlds. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "This is Admiral Park Tay of the Earth Defense Fleet. I speak for the United Earth Government and all human colonies everywhere." He let the words settle into the silence. "For 50 years, humanity has been a member of the Galactic Council. We have followed every rule. We have paid every tax. We have accepted every insult, every unfair treaty, every moment of disrespect. We did this because we believed in peace. We believed that if we showed good faith, we would eventually be treated as equals." His voice grew harder. "We were wrong. Yesterday, our ambassador asked the council for help. She showed them images of our dead citizens. The council laughed at her. They called us primitive. They told us we had given them nothing of value. They told us to learn humility." Across the galaxy, billions of beings stopped what they were doing and watched. On Nexus Station, High Arbiter Vorn froze in the middle of a meeting, staring at the screen with his empty black eyes. "Humanity is done asking for permission," Tay continued. "Starting now, Earth withdraws from every treaty with the Galactic Council. All trade agreements are canceled. All payments stop today. The Boundaries Treaty, the Commerce Agreement, the military limits, all of them are finished." He leaned forward, his eyes burning with cold fire. "Earth space is now closed. Any ship that enters our territory without permission will be treated as an enemy and destroyed. Any species that attacks our people will face the full power of what we have built." Behind him, the view screen showed the secret fleet emerging from the asteroid field. 300 warships moving in perfect formation. The image was being broadcast live to every corner of the galaxy. "We did not want this," Tay said, his voice quieter now. "We wanted peace. We wanted to be treated fairly. We wanted basic respect. For 50 years, we asked for nothing more." His eyes seemed to look directly at High Arbiter Vorn through the screen. "You answered with contempt. You laughed at our dead. You called us insects." A long pause. "We will not ask again." The transmission ended. On Nexus Station, chaos exploded. Delegates ran through corridors, shouting into communicators. Military commanders demanded to know where this fleet had come from. How had the humans hidden it? What else were they hiding? High Arbiter Vorn stood frozen in his chamber. For 300 years, he had known exactly what to do in every situation. Now he felt something he had not felt in centuries. uncertainty. On the Talori homeworld, Delegate Mira watched the broadcast with her cruel smile slowly disappearing. She had laughed at the human ambassador. She had called them primitive. Now she was looking at warships that her military experts said were at least 50 years more advanced than anything the Talori had. In the Keth Dominion, Commander Brix slammed his massive fist on his desk. The humans had challenged the natural order. They had insulted the proud warrior race of the Keth. Someone would have to teach them their place. He began calling his ship captains. But on Earth and its colonies, there was no panic. There was only calm preparation. Soldiers checked their weapons one more time. Pilots ran final tests on their ships. Scientists made sure every system was working perfectly. In Seoul, General Cho Dae spoke to his commanders through a secure channel. For 50 years, we hid our true strength. We let them believe we were weak. We swallowed our pride and buried our anger. Today, that ends. He looked at each face on his screen. Men and women who had given their lives to defending a species that the galaxy thought was worthless. I cannot promise you an easy fight. I cannot promise that everyone will survive. But I can promise you this. We will never bow again. We will never pay tribute again. We will never accept being treated as less than we are. His scarred face was calm and certain. They wanted us to learn humility. Instead, they will learn what happens when you push humanity too far. The screens went dark. Across 12 worlds, humanity prepared for whatever would come next. They had revealed themselves. There was no going back now. The galaxy finally knew what Earth had been hiding. The only question remaining was simple. What would the galaxy do about it? The answer would come sooner than anyone expected. Commander Brix had fought in 37 battles and won every single one. His body was covered with scars from enemies he had killed with his own hands. Among the Keth people, he was a living legend, the perfect warrior, the undefeated champion. When he heard the human broadcast, he felt nothing but rage. These small, soft creatures thought they could threaten the galaxy? They thought hiding a few ships made them dangerous? Brix would show them what real power looked like. He gathered 40 of his best warships, the finest vessels in the entire Keth Dominion, crewed by warriors who had trained to kill since before they could walk. He did not ask for permission from the Galactic Council. He did not wait for orders from his government. The humans had insulted his people by refusing to bow. They would learn their mistake in blood. His fleet jumped through space toward Earth territory, toward a colony called Nova Busan, where 500,000 humans lived on a planet they had turned green through decades of hard work. Brix planned to burn it all to ash. Captain Lee Su received the warning 40 minutes before the Keth fleet arrived. He commanded a patrol group of 8 ships stationed at the edge of Earth space. His vessel, the EDS Resolve, was one of the new warships from the secret fleet. It was fast and deadly, but it had never been tested in real combat. Lee Su was 34 years old. He had joined the Navy because aliens had killed his grandfather when Lee Su was just a little boy. He had trained for 15 years. He had studied every battle ever fought between different species. He had run thousands of practice simulations. None of that stopped his hands from shaking when he saw 40 Keth warships appear on his screen. "Captain," said Lieutenant An Minji, his tactical officer. She was staring at the display with wide eyes. "They have 40 ships. We have 8. "I can count, Lieutenant." "What do we do?" Lee Su looked at his bridge crew. They were young. They were scared. They were looking at him for answers. He thought about running. 8 ships against 40 was not a fair fight. It was suicide. But behind his small fleet lay Nova Busan. 500,000 people, families having dinner, children doing homework, old people sleeping peacefully in their beds. If the Keth got past him, all of those people would die screaming. "Form a defensive line," he said, surprised by how calm his voice sounded. "We hold them here." The 8 ships moved into position. On the other side of the border, the Keth fleet slowed down. Commander Brix's face appeared on Li Su's communication screen. He was huge and terrifying, with gray-green skin and tusks curving up from his lower jaw. His yellow eyes burned with hatred. "Human," Brix growled. "You are in my way." "You are at the border of Earth space," Li Su replied. "Turn back now, or we will open fire." Brix laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. 8 ships against my fleet? You cannot be serious." "We are completely serious." "Then you are completely stupid." Brix's yellow eyes narrowed. "Move aside, and I will only kill half of you. Stay in my path, and I will destroy every ship. Then burn your colony until nothing remains." Li Su felt his heart pounding so hard he thought it might break through his chest. His mouth was completely dry, but his voice stayed steady. "We have a saying on Earth, Commander. Come and take them." Brix's face twisted with fury. "Kill them all!" he roared. The Keth fleet charged forward. What happened in the next 11 minutes would be studied in military schools across the galaxy for the next 1,000 years. The Keth ships used the same tactics that had won them 37 straight battles. Heavy armor, massive firepower, charged directly at the enemy and crushed them through pure strength. Against most species, this worked perfectly. Against the human ships, it was a complete disaster. The Resolve and its sister ships moved like nothing Brix had ever seen. They did not fly in straight lines like normal warships. They spun and twisted and danced through space, never staying in one spot long enough to be hit. The Keth weapons, designed to hit slow-moving targets, struck nothing but empty vacuum again and again. Meanwhile, human weapons found their targets with terrible accuracy. Quantum lock missiles ignored Keth shields completely, appearing inside the enemy ships and exploding. Railguns fired metal slugs so fast that Keth armor crumpled like wet paper. Energy beams cut through hulls like hot knives through butter. "Fire pattern Delta," Li Su ordered, his fear forgotten in the heat of battle. "Focus on their command ships first." The Resolve twisted between 2 Keth vessels, flying so close that Li Su could see the enemy bridge through his window. Both ships tried to turn their weapons toward him. Too slow. The Resolve's guns tore through both of them before they could fire a single shot. Brix watched in horror as his fleet was torn to pieces. Ship after ship exploded in bright flowers of fire. His tactical displays filled with warning lights. His communications were full of the screams of dying warriors. "Impossible," he whispered. "They are only humans." But humans were destroying everything he had. Lieutenant Ahn called out targets in a voice that never wavered. "Enemy vessel at Mark 7. 2 more coming from below. The flagship is trying to run." "Do not let the flagship escape," Li Su said. "All ships, focus fire on the flagship." The 8 human vessels turned toward Brix's ship like wolves chasing a wounded deer. The great commander tried to escape. He ordered full speed, desperate to reach the safety of Keth space. He never made it. A quantum lock missile appeared in his engine room. The explosion tore his ship in half. Emergency systems kept the bridge section intact, keeping Brix alive, but the flagship was dead in space. The battle lasted exactly 11 minutes. When it ended, 36 Keth ships had been destroyed. Broken metal and frozen bodies floated in the darkness. 4 surviving ships had turned off their weapons and were signaling surrender. Commander Brix, the legend who had never lost, was being pulled from the wreckage by human rescue teams. Li Su sat back in his chair. His hands were shaking again, but not from fear this time. "Casualties?" he asked. 3 wounded on the Defiance, Lieutenant Ahn reported. "Minor damage to the Herald. All ships still able to fight." No deaths. Not one single human had died. Li Su opened a channel to the surrendering Keth ships. "This is Captain Li Su. You have surrendered and we accept. Turn off your shields and prepare to be boarded. You will be treated fairly. You have my word." Then he opened another channel. This one went to every news network in the galaxy, the same networks that had broadcast Earth's humiliation at the Council. "This is Captain Lee Sue of the Earth Defense Fleet. The Keth Dominion sent 40 warships to attack our colony. They were met by 8 of ours. The battle is finished." He paused, letting the words sink in. Earth protects its own. The footage spread across the galaxy within hours. Billions of beings watched the impossible happen with their own eyes. They watched the mighty Keth, feared warriors of 1,000 worlds, being destroyed by the species everyone had called primitive and worthless. On Nexus Station, High Arbiter Vorn watched in total silence. His black eyes reflected the explosions and the dying ships. "How?" he asked the empty room. "How did they do this?" No one had an answer. In the prisoner area of the EDS Resolve, Commander Brix sat in a cell and stared at nothing. The humans had given him food and water. They had treated his wounds. They had spoken to him with respect. He had tried to kill them. He had promised to burn their children alive, and they had shown him mercy. For the first time in his long life, Brix wondered if everything he believed about the universe was wrong. The destruction of the Keth fleet changed everything in the galaxy. For 3 days after the battle, no one spoke. Species that had felt safe for thousands of years suddenly felt afraid. Military experts ran calculations over and over trying to understand how 8 small human ships had destroyed 40 Keth warships. The math kept giving them the same answer. It should have been impossible. But it had happened. The video was real. The wreckage was still floating at the edge of Earth space, a silent warning to anyone who might think about attacking. High Arbiter Vorn called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. When he walked into the Grand Chamber, his black eyes showed something that had not been there for centuries: fear. "We are facing a crisis," he announced to the assembled delegates. "The humans have shown military technology that we did not know existed. They have broken all their treaties. They have attacked the forces of the Keth Dominion." "Defended themselves," someone called out from the upper seats. "The Keth attacked first." Vorn ignored the interruption and continued. "We must respond together. I am calling for a united military action. Every council species will send ships. Together we will contain the human threat before it becomes worse." He looked around the chamber expecting to see agreement. Instead, he saw doubt, hesitation, fear, but not fear of the humans, fear of fighting them. Delegate Mira of the Talori hegemony rose slowly from her seat. Her cruel smile was gone. Her sharp teeth were hidden behind closed lips. "High Arbiter," she said carefully, "the Talori have no problem with humanity. The Keth attacked without council permission. They lost. Perhaps this situation has nothing to do with us." Vorn stared at her like she had grown a second head. "Nothing to do with you? Humanity has challenged everything we have built." "Humanity defended itself," Mira replied. "Nothing more and nothing less. The Talori see no reason to risk our ships in a war that we did not start and do not want." Whispers spread through the chamber like wind through tall grass. Other delegates were nodding their heads in agreement. The representative of the Venn Collective spoke next. He was a being made entirely of living crystal, and his voice rang like a bell. "The Venn agree with the Talori position. Humans have done nothing to harm us. We will not fight them." "The Ashi Republic will not participate in military action," said another voice. "The Droma Federation refuses to send ships." One by one, species that Vorn had counted as his strongest allies refused to join his coalition. The Galactic Council, which had ruled the stars for 10,000 years, was breaking apart over a species they had laughed at only days before. Vorn slammed his hand down on his podium. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. "This is madness! Humanity is a danger to all of us!" "Humanity is dangerous to those who attack them," Mira replied smoothly. The Talori have absolutely no intention of attacking them. Perhaps if the Keth had felt the same way, they would still have a fleet. The meeting ended with no agreement. For the first time in anyone's memory, the Galactic Council had failed to speak with one voice. That night, Delegate Mira sent a secret message to Ambassador Yoon Hana. Hana received the message in her embassy on Nexus Station. She read it twice, and a small smile appeared on her tired face. The Talori wanted to talk. They wanted their own separate peace with Earth. They wanted trade agreements that did not include the Council. Hana sent back a simple reply. "We are ready to listen." Over the following weeks, more cracks appeared in the Council. The Ven Collective offered to exchange technology with Earth. The Ashi Republic proposed a treaty where both species would defend each other. The Droma Federation asked about new trade routes. Species that had ignored humanity for 50 years were suddenly very interested in being friends. On Earth, Admiral Park Tae met with General Cho Dae and Dr. Kim Nari in a secure room deep underground. A glowing map of the galaxy floated in the air between them, showing all the new alliances that were forming. "More than half the Council is ready to abandon Vorn," Tae said. "If we push harder, we could destroy the entire organization." "That is not our goal," Nari reminded him. "We do not want to rule the galaxy. We want to change it." "Can we trust these new friends?" Cho Dae asked, his scarred face full of doubt. "They laughed at us a month ago. Now they want to be partners. What happens when they decide we are weak again?" "They will never think we are weak again," Tae answered. "We have shown them what we can do. But Nari is correct. We are not trying to build an empire. We want respect, not control." The three of them studied the map in silence. Earth was just a tiny dot compared to the vast territories of the older species. But that tiny dot had shaken the entire galaxy. Ambassador Hana returned to the council chamber. She walked in alone, her head held high, her dark blue uniform perfect. The same aliens who had laughed at her now watched her in complete silence. She took her place at the speaking platform and began to address the chamber. "Earth is ready to negotiate," she said. "We do not want endless war. We do not want to destroy the Council or conquer your territories. We want only what we have always wanted, to be treated as equals." High Arbiter Vorn leaned forward in his high seat. "Equals? You are a young species. You cannot possibly expect—" "With respect, High Arbiter, we are no longer asking what we can expect. We are telling you what we will accept." The chamber became so quiet that Hana could hear her own heartbeat. "Earth will return to the Council, but only under new conditions. First, all tribute payments end forever. We will contribute to common projects, but we will not pay for the right to exist. Second, the border treaties must be changed. Earth will have the right to protect itself and chase enemies into their own territory if necessary. Third, humanity will receive a permanent senior seat on this council, with full voting power on all decisions." Vorn's face twisted with anger. "Impossible. Those privileges are only for the founding species. Humanity has not earned—" "We have earned nothing," Hana interrupted, her voice cutting like a blade. "We have bled for this galaxy. We have paid tribute for 50 years. We have watched our people die while this council did nothing. What more do you require from us?" She took a step closer to the edge of the platform. "You called us primitive. You said we contributed nothing of value. Let me tell you what humanity has contributed. We have cured diseases that killed millions on a dozen different worlds. Our farming technology has fed species that could not feed themselves. Our music is played on planets we have never even visited. Our art hangs in museums across the galaxy." She pointed at the small symbol of Earth on the chamber wall, almost invisible among the great emblems of ancient civilizations. "We have given more in 50 years than some species have given in 5,000, and we did all of this while being treated like dirt. Imagine what we could accomplish as real partners." No one laughed. No one made a sound. Earth does not want enemies, Hana continued, her voice becoming softer. We want friends. We want to build something better than what exists today. But we will not beg. We will not bow down. Those days are finished forever. She looked directly into Vorn's black eyes. You have a choice, High Arbiter. Accept humanity as equals and keep your council together. Or refuse, watch your coalition fall apart, and spend the rest of your life watching Earth build something new without you. She paused for a long moment. Choose wisely. The silence lasted for what felt like years. Then Delegate Mira stood up. The Talori support Earth's proposal, she announced. We believe change is necessary. The crystal representative of the Ven rose next. The Ven Collective agrees. One by one, more than half the council declared their support for Earth. Not because they suddenly loved humanity. Not because they believed in justice. Because they were afraid of being on the losing side. Vorn looked around his chamber. His coalition was shattered. His power was crumbling. For 300 years he had ruled by keeping the weak down and rewarding the strong. Now he was learning that he had been wrong about who was truly strong all along. This council will take a break, he said, his voice empty and hollow. We will consider Earth's terms. It was not victory yet. But as Hana walked out of the chamber, she knew the hardest part was behind them. Humanity had finally found its voice, and the galaxy was listening. 1 year had passed since humanity walked out of the Galactic Council. In that time, the entire galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. The old system, built on fear and contempt, had fallen apart. Something new and better was rising in its place. The Keth Dominion had asked for peace within 2 months of their defeat at Nova Busan. Commander Brix, released from human custody after being treated well, had returned home and told his people the truth. Humans were not weak. They were not primitive. They had simply pretended to be those things, and the Keth had been foolish enough to believe the act. The peace treaty between Earth and the Keth was fair to both sides. No tribute payments, no one bowing to anyone. Just 2 species agreeing to respect borders and solve problems through talking instead of fighting. Brix himself had put his mark on the document. Being defeated by humans and then treated with honor had changed something deep inside him. High Arbiter Vorn was gone. His own people had removed him from power after his policies caused economic disaster across their territory. The trade routes that had flowed through Council space for centuries were now flowing toward Earth instead. Species that had once needed the Council for protection were signing their own deals with humanity. Vorn's arrogance had cost his civilization everything it had built over thousands of years. He now lived quietly on a small moon, watching the galaxy he had once ruled continue without him. He still did not understand what had happened. He still believed humans should have known their place and stayed in it. Some people are unable to learn, no matter how hard the lesson. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council looked different now. The seating had been rearranged to show that no species sat higher than another. The ancient symbols on the walls had been moved around. And at the level where only founding species had been allowed to sit, there was a new chair. Ambassador Yoon Hana took her seat among the senior members of the council. She wore the same dark blue uniform she had worn on the day of her humiliation, but now it carried new symbols showing her higher rank. Around her sat beings who had once laughed at humanity. None of them were laughing now. A new document lay on the central platform, the Galactic Compact. It had taken 6 months of difficult negotiations to write. Every single word had been argued over. But the finished document represented something the galaxy had never truly had before: real equality between all species. Tribute systems were abolished forever. No species would ever again have to pay money just for the right to exist. Using military force to bully others was now forbidden. Arguments would be settled by a new court where every species had equal standing. Trade would be free and fair, without the hidden fees that had drained young civilizations for centuries. The compact was not perfect. No agreement ever is. But it was so much better than what had existed before. Hana stood to speak to the chamber. 1 year ago, she began, I stood in this very room and begged for help. I showed you pictures of our dead children. I asked for justice. You laughed at me. The chamber was absolutely silent. No one wanted to look at her directly. Today, I am not here for revenge. Humanity never wanted revenge. We wanted something much simpler. We wanted to be treated the same way we treat others. She pointed at the new compact lying on the platform. This document is a new beginning, not just for humanity, but for every species that has ever been told they do not matter. Every young civilization that was used and thrown away. Every people that was dismissed simply because they were new. She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. The old way was built on the belief that some species are worth more than others. That being old means being wise. That having power means being right. We have proven that these beliefs are false. True wisdom comes from how you treat others, not from how long you have existed. Power means nothing if you only use it to hurt those who are weaker. A small smile crossed her face. Humanity is still young. We still have much to learn. But we will learn as equals. We will grow as partners. And together, we will build something that the old order could never create. A galaxy where every species matters. The chamber erupted in applause. Not everyone clapped. Some of the old powers still felt bitter about what had happened. But enough beings clapped to fill the great room with sound. The species that had been pushed down. The young civilizations that finally had hope. The beings who had waited centuries for someone to stand up and say, that enough was enough. Delegate Mira of the Talori caught Hana's eye and nodded with genuine respect. Their friendship had grown strong over the past year. The Talori had once been opportunists, always siding with whoever held the most power. Now they had learned that there were better ways to survive than laughing at the weak. The signing ceremony was simple but powerful. Representatives from 40 different species added their marks to the compact. When the last signature was complete, bells rang throughout Nexus Station. A new age had officially begun. Far above the station, Admiral Park Tae watched the ceremony on a screen aboard the EDS Sovereignty. His fleet surrounded Nexus Station, not as a threat, but as a reminder. Humanity would never be unprotected again. Commander Oyuna stood next to him. It is really over, she said quietly. No, Tae replied with a tired smile. It is only beginning. The hard work comes now, keeping the peace, building trust, showing everyone that we meant what we said about equality. Do you believe we can do it? Tae watched Earth's flag being raised next to the banners of ancient species, blue and green among symbols that were older than human history, small, but finally impossible to ignore. We have to try, he said. On Earth, in Seoul, General Cho Dae watched the ceremony with his commanders. When the compact was signed, he raised a glass. To those who did not live to see this day, he said softly. The soldiers who died defending colonies that no one cared about. The civilians killed by raiders who were never punished. The dreamers who believed we could be more than what they said we were. His commanders raised their glasses in silence. We did this for them. Everything we do is for them. They drank together. At Research Station 7, Dr. Kim Nari was already working on new projects. But her work was different now. No more secrets, no more hiding. Earth had agreed to share its technology with friendly species, and Nari was leading the effort. Young scientists from a dozen worlds now worked beside her team. Talori engineers learning about human shields, Ven researchers studying human medicine, species that had never cooperated before, building things together. This was what Nari had always dreamed of: science without borders, progress without fear. Captain Lee Soo had been promoted to command a squadron of 12 ships. He patrolled the borders of Earth space, keeping watch. His crew from the battle at Nova Busan were treated as heroes everywhere they went. Schools had been named after them. Songs had been written about their victory. Lee Soo did not feel like a hero. He felt like a man who had done his job. But he understood why people needed the story. They needed to believe that courage could defeat numbers. They needed to believe that standing up for what is right actually mattered. On Nexus Station, as the celebrations continued, Ambassador Hana slipped away from the crowds. She walked to a window that looked out at the endless stars. Behind her, music played and beings laughed and talked, the sounds of peace. A young alien delegate walked up to her nervously. He came from a species that had joined the Council only 10 years ago. He was small and delicate-looking, with huge eyes full of wonder and questions. "Ambassador," he said, "may I ask you something?" "Of course." "How did humanity do this? How did you change everything so fast?" Hana looked at him and remembered being young. She remembered believing that the galaxy was fair. She remembered the exact moment when that belief had died inside her. "We did not change anything," she said gently. "The galaxy was always unfair. We simply stopped accepting it." "But how? How do you stop accepting something that has been true for thousands of years?" Hana smiled. Not her diplomatic smile. A real one, tired but honest. "You refuse to ask permission to exist. You stand up even when you are terrified. You remember that what they call weakness is often just patience waiting for the right moment. And when that patience finally runs out, you show them who you really are." The young delegate was quiet for a moment. "I hope my people can be as brave as yours someday." "You can be," Hana said. "You just have to believe that you deserve better. That is where it all starts." She looked back at the stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies were growing larger. Human ships were exploring places no human had ever seen. Human children were being born who would never know a galaxy where their species was considered worthless. That was the true victory. Not the battles or the treaties. The knowledge that the next generation would grow up as equals. They would never have to hide their strength. They would never have to swallow their pride. They would simply be what humanity was always meant to be: free. And the galaxy, for all its ancient wisdom and proud elder races, had finally learned what happens when you push one small species too far. They had learned to never look down on Earth again.